wanted to hold a press conference concerning the election. It has been on everybody's minds, and I just wanted to do a little bit of an introduction here to convey to you who has been working on our pre-election efforts. So in no particular order, you'll hear from Police Chief Paul Oliveira in a second, but with him also is Assistant Deputy Derek Belong, as well as City Solicitor Eric Jakes, First Assistant City Solicitor Ryan Paveo, Assistant City Solicitor Catherine Shuko, as well as Manny DeBrito, the Elections Commissioner, the Chair of the Elections Commission, as well as Elections Commissioners Donald Gaudette and Lisa Dunaway, who are all here today. Appreciate everybody's participation. I'm here today. We're here today, less than a week out, 6 days out from a presidential election, and ordinarily these things go to plan without, I want to say without a whole lot of a forethought, but we've been paying more attention to this one because there is a whole lot of anxiety out there about elections right now. In fact, we've never had a press conference like this in advance of an election. We've never seen fit to do that because we haven't had this kind of anxiety before. So the purpose in my coming before all of you today is to convey the work that's been done and hopefully to convey to everybody that New Bedford is on it. We can't speak for the rest of America. We can't speak for the rest of even Massachusetts, but we can say here that we've been preparing for this election for some time because we want people to feel that it is absolutely safe to vote in the city of New Bedford and that your vote will count just as everyone else's will count on Tuesday. So we've done a number of things. I just want to go through them, and then I'll call the chief up. And I go through all this just as a way of just portraying that it is that the election work has been it's taken several months. The work has taken several months to work through a number of issues, but I feel really confident that we are prepared. So. Among other things, we've bought a great deal more new equipment. These are vote tabulation machines, new software, new things like new tools to open up envelopes for absentee ballots. It really goes down the line. We've invested a significant amount of money, some of it ARPA funds, into these devices. We have police officers at every polling location. We have arrangements for backup police officers if that is necessary. We've invested in a considerable amount of new signage along the way to ensure that people know where they're going. We have occasions where because of a switch in voting location, people go to the old location out of force of habit and we have to redirect them. We've got that all covered. We're dealing with a number of things here at City Hall. On Tuesday, the front entrance to City Hall will be closed. The 6th Street side will be open. That's the handicap accessible side. We want to make sure we're controlling better the flow of people in and out of the building. So again, so that everybody feels like it's not sort of a free-for-all here in City Hall. Things will be busy. We want to make sure there's a secure checkpoint in the building so that people can have confidence that things are under control. We have our lawyers on standby in every election. There is some need for reaching out for legal assistance, legal counsel, and that's just look, where the casting a vote is an exercise in a constitutionally protected right, and we want to make sure that the particulars are done correctly, and so we avail ourselves of our solicitor's office to ensure that that things are done consistent with federal and state law, and this is no exception, except that we actually are staffed up more for that for this particular election. A couple of other things. There's been, and I think this part's important. There have been months of training for poll workers, the moving companies that actually deliver the ballots to the voting locations, in our elections office, to the police department. Police officers have undergone election training as well. So people are trained up. They can answer questions. They know if they don't have an immediate answer to a question, they know whom to call, including the city's attorneys. We will have extra security here at City Hall all throughout the day and night until the votes have all been counted. And we've done a number of security trainings as well along the way. We have no specific information about any threats at all. We don't have any reason to believe that any particular place is in any jeopardy, or voters, or somehow there's any reason, any evidence to believe that something bad might happen. But we're prepared for it. We're prepared for also the possibility of threats to voting locations. It's going to happen somewhere in the country, and chances are it's not going to happen here, but we know, because we've gone through the work with the police department, the training, the scenario training with the police department, whose detail I will not offer for reasons I think people will understand, that we're prepared in the case of specific kinds of threats. Again, I emphasize we know of none right at this moment. The last thing I'll just say too is I do want to thank all the city departments who have been involved in the work of preparing for this election. And I think I'll just close with this before I turn it over to Chief Oliveira, and then we'll open it up for questions. But I think it's incumbent upon all of us, those in official positions, those who are voters, to work together to ensure that everybody has an opportunity to exercise their constitutionally protected right to vote. It is something that folks here in the United States, including here in New Bedford, have fought and died for on battlefields across the world. It is a solemn right, and regardless of your party or your preference of candidates, we need to respect everybody's right to actually cast a vote on Election Day. So I encourage everybody in this heated election system to here in New Bedford be the example of reason and patience and respect. All right, with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Oliveira to say a few words, and then we'll open it up for any questions. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. I could just reiterate on some of the things the Mayor's already spoken of. Obviously, like the Mayor spoke of, we are, as the department in whole, we are well prepared for the days leading up to the election, the day of the election, and the days following the election to ensure a safe and secure election here in the city. So a number of bullet points have already been mentioned. Obviously, every poll will be manned with a police officer throughout the day. We'll have police officers, as we normally do here at City Hall, and we'll have extra patrols throughout the day if need be to patrol outside the polling places. As any other election, we will be enforcing the 150-foot rule, which limits any type of signage or swag within the 150 feet of the entry door to the voting poll. So we'll be sure that's taking place. Some of the polls, you'll see additional lighting. Polls in the past that we found the lighting wasn't great as the evening got dark. So we'll be sure to, on those polling locations that we feel are a little dark, we'll be sure there's additional lighting that other city departments will be providing. And as the Mayor said, really just to reiterate, there has been no intel, anything specific in this area or anywhere else that I know of. I spoke to the director, actually this morning, the area director of the FBI, just to again reiterate, give an opportunity if there was any new threats or anything to be concerned of, and he assured me there is nothing at this time. Obviously, if something changes, we'll be the first to know and obviously put that out. But this is really just to be precautionary to ensure the citizens here in New Bedford that they can go to the polls and feel safe and secure. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. And again, I'll just close with this and answer anybody's questions. But we haven't had a press conference like this, and what we're responding to is the anxiety that's out there, including here in the Bedford area over this upcoming election. This one is different in that way, and we're here just to assure everybody that, again, it is safe to vote in New Bedford, and your vote will be counted. All right, with that, I'll open it up.
Have you heard from any anxiety from poll workers that we've seen in neighboring New Hampshire where they might be fearful of working here on election night? Is this kind of what's brought this press conference, or was there a certain voice that you heard from that you felt like you needed to give that reassurance?
Yeah, so you certainly hear those stories nationally of poll workers feeling threatened. We haven't heard that here, at least I haven't. I'm not aware of that, but again, it wouldn't. Our poll workers read the newspaper too, and and if they're harboring any of those feelings, we hope that this press conference disabuses them of any of those concerns.
Has the ballot box burning on the West Coast, has that been part of the conversation too? That happened a couple days ago, just in the lead up of preps and as far as security and all that goes?
Well, so the incidents like that garner a great deal of attention. That wasn't the impetus for this effort here or any of the work that we've been doing over the last several weeks. But I can tell you that an action like that, and more particularly the media response to that and the social media response to that, is the reason why we're trying to speak to the anxiety that's out there. It's a reflection that the coverage has reflected, I think, back the anxiety that's out there generally. So that's what we're trying to ease right now.
There is a lawsuit that has been filed over the state primary. It's not in New Bedford, it's a little to the east, but the issue can be broader, which is that the candidate is alleging that in 6 out of 8 communities, the election officials are not comparing the signatures as they're required to do on the mail-in ballots. So there's the signature on the ballot itself and on the vanilla envelope. Is New Bedford doing that?
So I just can ask Ryan or Eric if it's a practice that we engage in. I don't believe it is, but.
Good afternoon. The City of New Bedford and its election commission follows all election laws as they are required to do. This is the first I'm hearing about this particular lawsuit. I don't believe the City of New Bedford is one of the named communities that you mentioned. But the only thing I can say is the City of New Bedford follows all required election laws and follows all guidance from the State Election Division as it comes to all of our elections.
One issue that's come up around it is the increase in popularity of mail-in voting and whether or not communities actually have the resources to hand compare all of those ballots. Is that something that's difficult for you to deal with?
Well, I think as far as resources go, I'm not sure, Mr. Mayor, if you would like the...
So resources shouldn't be an issue. I don't know, Manny, you want to speak to that? Is that a practice?
So it's something we do. My staff has been there collectively over 70 years, so they're very, very experienced, and that is something that's part of, we have the signatures, we have the voter IDs on the ballot, so we make sure, and it's such a long and tedious process, but we do it. We have no choice. Like when we mail out ballots, scanning that we've mailed out a ballot, when we receive it, same thing. So yeah, there is a process to it all.
And for people who voted early, some voters say they're being asked to show ID, others not. Can you kind of explain why some people might be asked to show verification and why others might not?
Yeah, it has to do with the process concern. Inactive voters, if under Massachusetts law, as I understand, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on the law, but my understanding is that if someone hasn't voted in 2 election cycles, they're treated as inactive. And that doesn't mean they're not allowed to vote. It means that they have to show some proof of identification when they show up to the polls or in the case of absentee ballots, have to demonstrate that they are who they purport to be.
So is an ID required then in voting?
It is, under Massachusetts law, there's a whole page on this on the state, Secretary of State's website, but yes, that's the general rule. If you are an inactive voter, you must show some form of identification. Doesn't mean a Massachusetts driver's license necessarily. There are other forms of ID that are acceptable.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
Apologize. So the mayor is exactly correct. This typically happens, Massachusetts is a non-ID state, but there are certain circumstances where you will have to show your ID. And the most common one, and the one that probably is the only one that voters will potentially have to deal with, is if they are an inactive voter. So inactive voters are required to show some form of identification. Again, it doesn't have to be a driver's license, but it can be. And generally, most people do show their driver's license because most people have driver's license, and it's one of the acceptable forms, and it's readily available. But the reason a voter is placed on the inactive list is if they are, every year, the city has to send our roll of registered voters to the state. If you haven't voted in an election in 2 years under state law, you're designated as inactive. And so in order for you to vote again, you just have to show some kind of identification. Again, doesn't have to be an ID. Acceptable forms of identification include, but are not limited to, a driver's license, a state-issued ID card, a recent utility bill, a rent receipt, a lease. The purpose of the inactive voter list is because sometimes people move away from communities and they don't always stay on top of notifying their local election commission that they've moved. So it's just basically, you're just proving your residence at that particular address. You will also have to sign an affidavit of current and continuous residence, and when you do that, you'll be allowed to vote without issue.
Now, when this does happen, does the poll worker necessarily know why an ID is being asked?
Yes, so
Does it pop up or?
on the voter list, right next to the name and address, if someone has been designated as an inactive voter, there will be an I designated. I believe it's an I.
It's
correct?
an I.
Yes, thank you. There's an I
There's a
next to their name.
difference.
Yes. So that's the primary and should be one of the few reasons. There are other reasons to seek identification, first-time voters, if there's been a challenge. But other than that, if there's a designation of an I, like I said, 90% of the time that will be the reason. 99% even, they will be asked to show their identification. Again, doesn't have to be a driver's license. It's just easier. Most people have one. It's got your address on it. It's got your name. So
This is an easy question. Can you say and spell your name for us?
sure, it's Ryan, R-Y-A-N. Last name's Paveo, P as in Peter, A, V as in Victor, A-O.
And your title?
I'm the acting first assistant city solicitor.
Thank you.
You got both questions right. Nice. Any other questions?
Chief, really quickly, is the police presence at all bolstered this year as compared to years past, or is it consistent with election police staffing?
No, I would say this year we've taken extra attention, put some extra patrols out there. Yes, that'd be accurate.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Please get out and vote. The more the merrier. See you out there on Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.